Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz in the Coachella Valley. Today we are joined by Robert Moon. He is the mayor of Palm Springs, which continues to hold a special place in my heart. I came here as a child. I still come out to the Coachella Valley. And what I love about Palm Springs today is that it's looking to kind of keep its 20th century charm, but by modernizing with the 21st century flavor. Is that fair?
That's always a struggle because we have a group of people who really would like to keep Palm Springs looking like 1938, and one group would like to keep it looking like 1963, and there's another group who'd like to make it look like Las Vegas. So balancing those is important, but you know, we have to grow because we have to have tax revenues. Tourism is our main industry. And to pave the streets and pay our public safety officers, we have to have revenue. So,
but you are growing in a very significant way.
Yes, but it's also important for us to maintain the iconic architecture that we have. And we've been very careful about preserving the best of the mid-century architecture.
And let's talk about one icon. Her name is Marilyn Monroe.
Yes.
And I know that for Palm Springs residents, and really anyone from this region, she holds a special place. For a couple of years, there was a really beautiful statue. Is it a statue? Can I call it that?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, a piece of art.
People at the Palm Springs Art Museum might argue with you.
Forgive me, I'm not that sophisticated. But there was a piece of art that depicted Marilyn. Well loved, but she left. What happened? Why'd she leave?
Because she was leased for a year.
Okay.
It was a one-year lease agreement through Palm Springs Resorts. But however, she's on her way back.
Okay, tell us about that,
We're building a new park downtown, 1 acre across from the Palm Springs Art Museum, and she's going to be, we have a spot for her. It's going to be a beautiful place for her in the southeast corner of the park, ironically right next to our new Virgin Hotel, which is going to be built soon.
I didn't say that, but it is, I think it's perfect actually. In addition to the Virgin Hotel though, I know that you and Palm Springs residents are extremely excited about the Kimpton. What a great brand to be coming to Palm Springs.
Oh yes, I was there yesterday. I took a tour yesterday. I try to tour occasionally with the developer to keep up on it.
Sure.
And I was up on the roof, and the roof deck is going to be magnificent.
And let's talk about that, because that really is the signature space inside the new Kimpton Hotel. 360-degree views of Palm Springs, the downtown. It's just supposed to be magnificent.
And Chris Pardo is designing it, and he's the mastermind designer behind the Arrive Hotel and a lot of other really great architecture in Palm Springs. So we're just delighted that Chris is doing the design up there.
Now, in addition to the Kimpton, the Virgin, Maryland, there are other buildings that are being developed in the general downtown area. Tell us about that.
Yes, actually, you know, the first building went up, and that's where we have West Elm.
Right, yeah.
And West Elm rapidly became the largest grossing West Elm store in the United States.
Really?
They had the largest. They had
it's a furniture store, by the way, for those that don't know.
Yeah. And they had almost 1,000 people on their opening day, which was set a record for their entire chain.
Which says there was a pent-up need.
They're doing beautifully.
Yeah, pent-up need.
And a Blaze Pizza's opening in about a week or two next door to it. And the other two buildings that are under construction will be finished in the summer, and they will be open for business by the fall when the season starts.
I want to talk about development generally, because look, development can be controversial. And in Palm Springs, we're seeing a bit of that. Is that fair? There are some legal wranglings going on with some of the development. Talk us through some of that.
One thing that's unique about Palm Springs is we have an incredibly sophisticated, educated, involved group of residents.
Yeah.
And which is great. We really love it. But you know, they are a very involved group of residents. But as I said a while ago, some people really want to keep the old Palm Springs, which is it's gone. And so we're trying to find a mix on this. So we want to make sure any development that is done is appropriate for Palm Springs. We like to say it's like no place else.
Right.
And we're trying to maintain that village feel of Palm Springs, which is unique in the desert. Nobody else has it. And a walkable downtown. And we have the buzz trolley, so people don't have to use their car all weekend. And restaurants are opening like gangbusters in Palm Springs.
But along those lines, I want to ask, look, when I was a kid, it was Palm Springs, and there was nothing else. There was no Rancho Mirage, Cathedral City. I mean, it may have existed, but Palm Springs was it. Now there's competition between the cities, a healthy competition.
True.
And so As you're trying to bring in these businesses, these restaurants, these West Elms and hotels, talk us through that process. How do you convince them that Palm Springs is the place to be?
Well, because it's iconic. We have the brand. Other people call themselves the Greater Palm Springs. You know that you lived in D.C. People say they live in Silver Springs and they live in D.C. No, they don't.
Right, Fairfax.
So Palm Springs is the brand. That's why people like West Elm like to say they are in Palm Springs. And so we're making sure to protect that brand and make sure that it stays very special and that our city stays like no place else. But that's another reason we have to grow and develop, because if we don't, everything will move down valley.
Now, I understand that recently the voters passed Measure J.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years.
Talk to us about Measure J and how Measure J, which by the way is a sales tax measure, how has that allowed Palm Springs to spur this development? Because I know that was a key part of the plan.
Well, Measure J did two things. One, it was a 1% tax, which is bringing in about $13.5 million a year. Of that, $3.5 million a year comes off the top to pay the bond, which we took out to do our portion of the downtown development, which paid for the parking structures and the streets and the utilities and the infrastructure. And so it's a partnership with the developer. And the other portion of it, which is about $10 million left over each year, is going into capital projects in the city. You've seen a lot of streets being built in Palm Springs. You've seen lighted crossings. You've seen all sorts of safety issues being taken care of. That money has to be spent on capital projects for the city of Palm Springs.
Now, was this a 2/3 measure or a 50% measure when it passed?
It was a 2/3 measure.
And so it's pretty impressive, if you think about it, that Palm Springs voters said by a 2/3 supermajority, yes, we trust you. We trust you to use our penny dollar to benefit the city.
Well, I think the residents of Palm Springs knew that our city, like a lot of cities throughout the valley and throughout the state, throughout the country, is really suffering on maintaining our infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, a lot of our buildings, our police stations, our fire stations, even our city hall, our library need a lot of work. Can
we talk about that? Because it's undeniable that when you talk about streets and roads and bridges, metaphorically speaking, California is really hurting. We haven't seen an increase in the gas tax since the 90s. We're driving more fuel-efficient vehicles, so the gas tax isn't going far. Sacramento's in a debate about how to fund those street repairs. Maybe now with the Democratic supermajority, we may see some movement. But how is a city like Palm Springs working with Sacramento, if at all, to try to improve infrastructure?
Well, we really depend heavily on a tax on Measure A funds, which come from
Riverside County tax?
Yes. And they help us a lot. Like we're building a bridge on the Vista Chino now, which floods every time it clouds up practically. And that's costing $86.8 million. Of that, 88.53% is coming from the federal government, and most of the remainder of that's coming from Measure A taxes. So those are very important.
Let's talk about the federal government. One could say a lot of things about the new president, but one thing one can say is he has been firm on his desire for infrastructure spending to improve roads and bridges as a job creator.
Well, I think the entire country has seen the need for that.
Right.
Our bridges, our streets, our roads.
So is Palm Springs ready to jump if President Trump says, okay, I'm ready to start spending, file your applications?
Absolutely. Our engineering department and also our Measure J Commission, which takes input from the residents on projects to spend the Measure J funds on. We have a real backlog of projects we'd like to work on, including our library. We're redoing our police station. We're rebuilding our fire station number 4. We need to rebuild 2 more fire stations. So we have
You're ready to go.
We're ready to go. In fact, we're not just ready to go, we're going. But we could go faster if we had additional funds.
His name is Robert Moon. He is the mayor of the beautiful city of Palm Springs. We're in the Coachella Valley today. I'm Brad Pomerantz on Local Edition.